was shocked.
What, you going to get?
I was just.
What time? Not too bad.
Oh, you want me to get that? Okay.
Yeah, you're on the radio.
I was just there for.
Just for the day.
Yeah, I just flew in Monday night and flew back home Tuesday.
Cool.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Gotcha.
Hey, Ronald, how are you? We're going to get started in about 1 minute. Also, Suave.
Oh my God.
Okay, I feel like
goodness.
we have been blessed with a present.
You've been blessed. Feels like Ocho.
Okay. 30 seconds.
I feel like I'm lower.
I usually put it all the way up and then sit down more.
Well, this one's not moving. It's kind of like, okay. All right, here we go.
All right. How y'all doing today? Good evening. Good evening.
Is it on?
Is this thing on?
Is it on?
Is this on? My mic sounds nice. Check one.
My mic sounds nice. Check two.
My mic sounds nice. Check three. Are you ready?
To rock, y'all. Okay, yeah. There we go.
Evening.
Hey, y'all. How's everyone doing today?
What's going on? Today is Wednesday, August the 21st.
Yes.
And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the BGKH Show with
65.
Right, 65 with Dominion.
I'm Dominion.
And Epic.
Yes.
So yeah, they were 65.
65.
65.
Mm-hmm.
65. Mm-hmm. Something about that number 65.
It's going to be the year that's going to represent at least 5 years after I retire, because I'm not waiting until 65.
Let me tell you something. The moment I can calculate up to the, like, what's the earliest date I can listen? And the retirement piece is just so I can go through all that. But I'm still going to have a part-time gig. Like, I'm never going to.
Oh, yes. I'm still going to be working. I'm still going to be working for the hoes. That's what that is.
And then there's that. But so anyway, welcome to the BGKH Show.
Yes.
So tell us what you think. Let me scratch that. Let me take that back. First of all, top of the show, I need you all to call into our call into our studios.
Yes.
The telephone number is
240-719-2560.
One more again, that's
240-719-2560.
We would love to hear from you. Just to call in, say hi. Hey,
especially
how you doing?
to talk about the season finale of Pose.
Come on, y'all! Like this is a huge event.
Listen. Normally, I just as soon cut your throat as look at you.
Well, okay, so let's hold on to that for a second before we do.
I'm just saying it was just moving, and I want to hear what other people thought about it.
That is true. Mm-hmm. But before they call in, because we're gonna get to that in a second.
Yes.
Let's tell them what the BGKH stands for in the title. So
I'm told that the B stands for the blacks.
Get into this skin, honey. Get into all of it, honey. It's black.
This woman at work, she was like, oh, you must be like 34, 35. I was like, thank you, but you just know a bunch of old looking 34 and 35-year-olds. Because no,
that is sad.
If you had said
sad.
I look like 39, 40, I'd be like, thank you. So maybe she was just patronizing me, or maybe she just knows a bunch of old looking people. But anyway,
that's the sad part. The gays. Now the gays, their typical response to that, yeah, that's the G. Their typical response to that would have been 39. Yes.
Okay.
Come on, girl. But you know, the K for the kinky folks, we'd have been like 39 and 45.
Oh, he a daddy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so is that inches from
right?
Is that the hip? Is that from the toy?
And where are you measuring?
Where you measuring?
Because if you're not measuring from the top of the penis out, then that's a false measurement. Because that's not a false measurement. You know, if you're measuring from the underside of the balls, that's you bullshitting yourself.
Yeah, because you really are, and you lying to everybody.
Other than that, listen, all I'm gonna say is, even though I don't do that very often, I've seen more than my fair share of penises, and 10 inches is getting smaller and smaller every day.
But you know what's one thing in common about all of these things? All of these people that we just talked about stands for the H, which is
human and liars.
Well, yeah, many of them are liars. How do you include your balls in a measurement?
There was like a conversation, and people were like, "Oh yeah, well I measure from the underside of the penis," and I was like, "No," or I've never really seen anybody measure from the underside of the balls, but you know, like the truest measurement, the truest measurement is from the top of the penis out to the tip.
Yeah, so when I was like 19, 20, something like that. Like you do that type of measurement type of thing.
I did that like once, and I was like,
listen, kicking 50 in the ass, I'm not measuring shit. Like this is what it is. This is where you are.
This is what you're gonna get.
This is what you're gonna get. It ain't gonna get no
Listen,
bigger.
I have receipts and a resume. So
like it just is what it is. This is what you're gonna get. But anyway, yeah. So call in because we had before we even start talking about our week. The thing that has made my week was Pose.
Yes.
So, but we really want you all to call in and
give us about 15, 20 minutes so we can talk about.
No, let them call in. Listen, just call.
Oh well, yeah, we'll start calling in.
Just keep calling in.
As soon as our producer calls, gets to answer the phone, so we'll give a minute. So we'll talk about. So how was your week?
My week for the most part has been good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, got to see my mama, hung out with her for a minute. Had some very interesting advice that was given to me about parents or people in general that are going through Alzheimer's, and having moments where I find myself almost trying to correct them and kind of bring them into the now. Yeah. And their suggestion was, why don't you just go with what they're trying to give you?
Yeah.
So I was like,
it's easier.
Okay. So, you know, it was a, you know, good advice. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought about, I do that from time to time, but I don't do it as often as I probably should. So thank you for that advice. But other than that, it's been a pretty okay week. It's been a pretty okay week. Work has been kind of slowing down a little bit, but it's about to rev up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been good. Yeah, it's been real good. What about you? How was your week?
Well, we had let me see, where can we start? Last week was restaurant week, and we went to Del Frisco's Steakhouse. So let me just be clear. Del Frisco's is a fairly fancy establishment. Not like fancy, but it's like 1F fancy. It's not 4F fancy.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe two. No, it's
maybe two.
It's 2.5 fancies.
So it's like, so if we compare it to anything that you might know, like Cheesecake Factory. So it's
cheesecake isn't even a fancy. Cheesecake is fancy with a PH.
Right. I'm trying to give it a on a scale. Like it's
Cheesecake Factory is here. Del Frisco's is about here.
Yeah.
And like Morton Steakhouses, maybe like there, and like, you know, like some of those like famous like Chicago steakhouses are like here, and like some of the New York steakhouses.
Yeah. So it was pretty.
So it's pretty cute.
Nice. Right.
So, but for restaurant week, you could go in there and eat for $35. So that brought out a different clientele.
What I will say is
there was, and I will just say that there were a lot of comic book characters.
I think that's probably the best.
There was
the safest way to say it. They were very comical.
There was Oswald Cobblepot
in a jumpsuit,
and I was just like, that's just not an attractive ensemble.
That the look was not as follows.
No. And so there were a few people who were there for the 2.5 F fancy, and they almost got spoken to. I almost had to pull an Electra at the Clubhouse restaurant because this one white woman and her husband seemed to be very bothered by our conversation. But bitch, I paid my money, so whatever. I was there, for the rare steak carpaccio. Melts in your fucking mouth. In fact, I can say this. I'm going back there this weekend because it's Slave's birthday. So it's a weekend full of incitements and
good for you.
Incitements and excitements. So
incitements. Okay, I got you. All right.
And so that's going to be fun.
So I will also
and
say
that
the steak was. It was. Listen, I feel like Miss Chi-Chi. Oh my God, it was like butter. Oh my God, it was. I asked for it to be medium, and it was overcooked. But let me tell you something. And it seems like I always have
that he fucked that whole.
Listen, it seems like I always have issues and problems. But baby, let me tell you something. The taste
Luckily, there was no broccoli.
The taste was everything. No, I didn't have broccoli, but the taste was everything. I was like, this was overcooked, but I took a bite out of it, and I was like. Seasoned all the way through. Perfectly. And butter. Like butter. I
had the prime ribeye, and I was like, I was trying to be classy, but I was like, God damn, this is the best thing I ever had in my life. It was like that. Yeah, it was really good.
If that, so I'm wondering if that there's like a 5-minute lag when we hear the show play back. I just heard it. Okay. Anyway, the restaurant week should come around more often and should include more of the restaurants.
That's a lot of restaurants. They are in the restaurant week.
But let me be clear. I always don't necessarily know what it is until somebody says.
Well, neither do I. I always find out from somebody else. I need to get on their list or something.
Yeah, like I need to know like it's coming up. Like if it's every year, like is it every year at the same time? Mm-hmm. Like the second week of August or that sort of thing. But it seems like it pops up at different times.
And I will say that, well, clearly they aren't going to put like the Wagyu beef on the list because, Wagyu beef costs more than, what they're giving you as the whole meal for $35. Wagyu beef is more than that per like a 4 ounce.
Well, yeah, but
piece.
So but all in all, it was still a good. And your carpaccio, even though it wasn't my thing, we had that conversation.
Listen, everybody, I was like this. So I'm trying to be nice, but I'm hoping nobody wants any. So they take this steak. It's actually slightly frozen. And then they sear it just barely on the outside and they slice it. So it's 95% raw beef, very thinly sliced, but it's an excellent cut. So you just it's like roast beef kind of in texture, the raw beef, and they serve it with this little fennel and caper and olive oil salad. Oh, so good. But one thing I don't like about Restaurant Week, having gone to a number of them, is that they always have the same dessert. They have a cheesecake.
I'm a one Friday face
chocolate. It was fine. It was an uneventful cheesecake.
It did not no bake cheesecake.
Yes, it did not live
soft.
Up.
It wasn't cold. It was like it was like Jello pie. That's right. What it was.
It did not live up to the majesty of the rare carpaccio and that bomb ass steak.
Yeah,
and
but
drinks too.
But I didn't even do the drinks either.
Cocktail.
Well, see, I did drinks. My drink was on the table, but that's where I am. I don't know what
he spilled his. Well, it was just water.
It was water, but still, it was like
within 2 seconds of sitting down, it was like
it's like ching 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 ching. I was like, oh, right, okay.
Right as Oswald Cobblepot was walking past.
Yeah, so but other than that, it was good. It was good to actually have all the brothers that came into town and welcoming back some of our other brothers that we hadn't seen. And I think it was the first time we had dinner with the couple.
Yes.
The couple. Or
yes,
I'm going to say the
it
couple. Another one of the, like an it couple, another one of Onyx Mid-Atlantic's it couples. So Roman and Lynx.
And so that was a completely lovely evening, and it was a reunion of the Bristolhood of the Traveling Fat Bitches.
Yes, God, we showed up. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
we showed up, and listen, I'm going to give a shout out. Actually, it was a reunion of the Bristolhood of the Traveling Fat Bitches. Mm-hmm. It was also another reunion and another eventful evening for
the House of LaCroix.
The House of LaCroix, and also for the part of Sin 7, because we went out afterwards and it was foolishness.
Listen, young girl, I was like, listen, I was full and I was sleepy and tired. It was like 12:30 and y'all was like, well, let's go to the fireplace. I was like, I'm going home to bed.
Now, we were sitting there, eyes just, but it became fun because, of course, Spectre is sitting there, and all of a sudden, somebody just instantly eyes in on him, and Spectre's sitting there on the chair, and he's like,
did he leave?
That bitch he was tired. He was like, I was like, are you gonna get your Mac on? He was like, I'm not getting up off this chair. Well, when the dude finally came over, I was like, well, what happened? What happened? He was like, child, he had no furniture whatsoever. I said,
oh, so he did go over to this house. Oh, no,
no furniture whatsoever.
Oh, my goodness. Ugh.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with that if you are in between, but that was not his preference. And so, listen.
Okay. So let me see what else. So I went to Chicago for work for an overnight, and so they were asking like an interesting fact about me, and I was like, I've written 5 books, which I have. They're mostly small books, and but then they were like, I can't wait to and then they were like, what did they ask me? They were like, so what are you never said what the titles of the books were, and I said, I know. And then like one of the women was like, oh, you just lost a reader, and I'm thinking to myself, bitch, the books ain't for you. But I ain't saying none of that. I really wish I hadn't said anything, because then they kept trying to find it. And then they were like, well, I can Google it. I was like, you're not going to be able to find it, because everything that you think you'll be looking for, you won't be able to find it. So I don't even know why I said it. But I was just like, I couldn't think of anything else to say as far as an interesting fact for myself.
I mean, you could have said
like I can double fist. I can double fist someone. I mean, we were at a training class for a project management software. I mean, everybody ain't trying to hear all that. Now, there was a couple of people that I wanted to hear it. Because there was this tall, dark-skinned cutie that walked in. He was about maybe 6'2", but he was thin, like maybe just under 200 pounds. Mm. But like in a muscular kind of way, not like, he needed to eat, 3 or 4 cheeseburgers kind of way. And then there was this white guy with blue eyes, sitting across the way with beard and everything. So I was
like, sitting there, we just sitting there like,
so right. But yeah, but then they started talking about football, and then I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, like I'm not. When you say sports ball, I'm like, oh,
right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and then so I was supposed to fly back Tuesday evening, because I was just there overnight. Oh, Monday night I spent time with Mufasa and Romulan and Jace, and we had a lovely kiki and cut up, and Mufasa made these lovely elderberry flower margaritas, and I was like, this is delicious. No, they were really good.
Okay.
Fucking it up.
But he's a chef. Does he see now like an acclaimed bartender as well? Like
I guess.
Okay. Well,
maybe,
all right.
Maybe they just drink a lot. I don't know.
Shout out to all the listen.
Right. So Tuesday night I'm supposed to fly back. My flight was at originally 7:30. We finished training early, so I was like, I'm gonna bump this and get on this early 5 o'clock flight. And we're doing good. We're making progress, getting back from downtown out to O'Hare Airport. And I get this thing. Your flight was supposed to leave at 5:50 is now scheduled 6:10. No problem at all. Because it was raining. It had been raining earlier so hard that where I was on the 33rd floor, I couldn't even see Lake Michigan from the Willis Tower. So I was just like, girl, this is gonna be foolishness. So my 6 My 5:50 flight, which was delayed to 6:06, didn't leave until 6:30, and that's fine.
Okay.
Then we taxied out to the tarmac. You know, he was like, you know, there's traffic congestion, so it's a little slower. Plane's trying to get out of it. So we finally get out to the tarmac by like 7 o'clock. So I'm thinking, good. It's 7 o'clock here. That's 8 o'clock here. I'll get there. I'll miss the starter pose, but I have it on DVR so I can catch up with it.
Right.
We got there to the tarmac at 7, and then there was a ground stop at Dulles. So we didn't move for an hour and 45 minutes. So we ain't even take off until like 5 minutes of 9. So by the time we got to Dulles, it was like 11:30. So then we get to the fucking gate, and I'm sitting in row 37. Listen, it was a window seat, so I didn't give a fuck. So
I don't care
all that mattered.
Yeah,
this bitch sitting next to me this whole time, I don't know what the fuck she had bought, but it smelled like earth.
So she's like cousins with Uncle Falade and them that I said.
Yes, it smelled like freshly turned earth, which is maybe fine if
Uncle
you were at the farm,
you get your people.
but you don't want to sit next to that for an hour and a half. And she wasn't eating it, but the smell was wafting out of whatever she had it in. So I'm just sitting there like. So then we get there, and so I'm sitting there, and I was like, listen, I'm in row 37 of 42 or whatever. So I was like, it's going to be a minute before I get off of the plane. And then I realized that we had been sitting there for like 30 minutes. Then he goes, well, they need to get someone to come drive the jet bridge out to it. So it took like another 20 minutes. So even after we fucking got there, it was another 45 minutes before we got off the fucking plane. And then I had an hour drive from Dulles back to my house.
Yeah.
But I still watched Pose last night. So
yeah. And within the first 5 minutes, I was like, the fuck is wrong with these air filters in the house? I was like, Jesus. I was like, what is... Ugh.
And so the last thing I'll say is that I am now officially fully out to my boss. Because he was asking more questions. He was like, so I just feel like, man, if you don't want to talk about this, you know, we don't have to. And so I'm sitting there like, okay. It's like, when you were talking about leather, it's like, what are you talking about? He's like, so do you make your own leather clothing? I was like, no, it's not that. Like, it's not that. It is. I'm not a leather worker or a leather crafts person. I was like, I am a gay leather man. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, he said, I have lots of friends, and no.
But I have lots of friends that are
in the LGBTQ community. No. Listen, he's married, his wife, and I'm not.
Listen, I'm just laughing at that.
One, I don't shit where I eat, and two, he ain't good enough to eat. So
put them in whatever order you think you might know him best.
So, are you suggesting that?
No.
Oh.
No. Not at all.
So, I mean, we had a really good conversation about that and, you know, weight loss and our weight loss journeys and, you know, his family, because he is from New Jersey, but his family is Indian. So, you know, we talked about all kinds of stuff and everything. So that was lovely. So we'll get the Pose. So now y'all can call in, talk about whatever, but
yeah, please call in.
American Horror Story. I mean, like with every season, the last couple of seasons.
So let's start on Pose.
Okay,
because you all right. First of all, I just want to give a round of applause to Ryan Murphy because Brian Fauci, Ryan Cannles, all of you, Lady J, Jenny Livingston, Janet Mock, all of you. I'm giving you a round of applause.
Remember last March when this whole concept first came up and we were all like,
yeah,
this white boy is going to be telling these stories of these black and brown LGBTQ folks in the ballroom scene, no less. And I was like, I'm gonna watch it just so I could hate watch it and side eye it. And with few exceptions, I mean, I haven't really been disappointed in the show.
No, they've done a really good job. And I think what makes me say they've done a good job is the fact that they've made it so human. It was not a to put it in a fishbowl. It was not again exploitative. Like all the characters, all of the situations were real life. Some of them were based on real true stories, obviously, but all the characters, all the situations were human. Even Angel and her tears and her fears and crying when she was outed, like it was so real. Poppy's tears, crying for Angel, just real. Like again, the humanity of all of it, and I don't think people I don't think people that are not. Those people that are either not allies of LGBTQ cinema, people, family, don't understand that our lives are the same as yours. Like we have the same and similar struggles. Now we may have had different starts and where we are, who our chosen family or extended family is. That's something completely different. But again, it's still real life, and so the humanity of it is what I really really appreciate about this. So. Job well done, guys.
I thought that the way that they handled Angel's outing was well handled.
Yes,
because it could have been not necessarily played for laugh, but it could have played, tragic Latina trans woman kind of thing, and more of it was just like, you got outed by someone in the ballroom scene.
That old shady, nasty bitch. And we all know one. We all know one person like that.
Like that girl. Okay, so like in the leather community, is the one girl that saw you at IML, maybe getting your dick sucked in the bathroom, and now y'all work together, right? And so now she was like, so you know who I saw in the bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of messy girl that is entirely unnecessary, and it didn't have anything to do. Now I think they were trying to make it sound like she was being a little bit dismissive of him. Remember, because he offered her some suggestion. He was like, "No, I don't want to do that." And he was like, "Oh, okay, I got your ass."
Yeah, but
but it was still it was entirely unnecessary.
But it was it was kind of defensive because he really was like trying to listen.
It was still unnecessary.
When one's busy minding one's own business, you don't have these issues. Right. So we all know that person, one of those people like that in our lives. Leather community, gay, just whatever. Listen, but that bitch. Oh, I'd have got that bitch.
Yeah. I thought Pop was gonna find that.
I'd have got that bitch.
Fuck him up.
Woo,
but what I do is appreciate. I appreciated how Miss Ford treated it, because Miss Ford could have been like, "Bitch, you're fraudulent. You're
right." Right.
But she gave her and Poppy a chance, and
hey, girl.
I think that's going to be something interesting. It was interesting because the show picked up. The show ended in September because they had their like little pre-Labor Day beach fling,
right? And
then it picked up in May, right before the Mother of the Year competition. And Blanca had been sick, and Frederica Norman got arrested for. They finally understood and found her out that she had burnt that building down for the insurance money, and because she had been seen coming out of it. And she did admit that she felt bad for ruining Blanca's dream, because I think that she recognized maybe a bit of a kindred spirit or whatever. So we'll see what happens with that, because the next season is supposed to pick up in 96.
It's a time jump, and the time jump I think is gonna go into 1991. I think it is,
and then end in 96.
And because Ryan Murphy said that the series itself will end in 1996.
Yeah,
and that's gonna be basically at the start of the availability of these new AIDS medications for people living with HIV.
Yeah,
so. We don't know if it's going to be 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 6 seasons, but 1996 is how they're going to do it. And the time jumps were everything. So listen, as a kid, as a child of the 70s and growing up in the 80s and the 90s, the time jumps for me were everything, because I was laughing saying, what was I wearing then?
That was exactly
I saw something in the background of what I was wearing or what I wanted to wear or what I could, it was, so I get it. It was amazing for me. I appreciated the way they handled it. It was very, very, very good.
They also talked about a lot of other issues. Elektra talked about the fact that, this ballroom scene was really built on the backs of the trans women who were in the scene, but they're consistently overlooked. Just like cisgender women, they are judged only by their looks. Like, they've got this realness category, and they're held to a beauty standard that even the men in the ballroom scene, or those who either are transitioning or were, I don't want to say drag, but
some of them were in drag.
Some of them were in drag, but even as those who were just in drag and those who were actually in the process of transitioning or had transitioned, if you were presenting as female, you were judged the way that this society judges women, period.
And so that brought up a real good point. I've thought about this while I was before we got to the show. About Miss Electra. And I came up with this thing, like her bitchiness and her wit is matched by her intelligence and her moral compass. Like, I think that's
in a lot of ways, she really does. She really, as much as she's very self-centered or whatever, that's that ride or die bitch that you can always depend on.
Listen,
she's not going to coddle it, but when you really, throughout these 2 seasons, when you really needed Electra to show up and show out, she has been there.
I mean, and I think we all know several people in our lives like that. Like, I know I could, especially in the past 2 years, with Onyx, there's some people within the organization that are just ride or die bitches, and they will pull your coattails and tell you this is what the fuck it is. Right. And I'm glad you may not like it at that particular point in time, but you can appreciate it later on. But I'm just saying.
And so I like that the house fathers or whatever, the council, they got up at heels, and them girls. I was actually surprised at how little experience they had in heels.
So I guess the characters were supposed to have little experience in heels, but listen, that panel, I didn't think it was anyone.
I think all of them should have gotten chopped. Even they gave Praytel, I was like, he just sort of stood there and
Praytel had the baddest Diana Ross hair.
He certainly his look was together. His look was together.
But Jackie O, good to see you again, Jackie O. I remember you from a long time ago, Jackie. Good looking out.
And was that really I'm not really familiar. Was that really Kim Pendarvis?
So while I don't remember,
I mean, I would imagine
Kim Pendarvis went in drag.
I don't.
But Kim Pendarvis, right? But Kim Pendarvis that I remember is still living as a man.
Oh, okay. So this must be maybe another.
I'm sorry, not Kim. Freddie. I remember as living.
So, but I appreciated that they talked about that. I also appreciate.
Where you been?
I know, right? Where you been, girl?
I mean, we're not gonna put on the APBs. I'm not gonna stop this show.
Right. However, I did also appreciate that they didn't play the relationship with Ricky and Praytel as just this. It could have, because it could have just been this real easy thing to say, both coming together out of pain and sexual desire, and that's that. It actually seems like they're building or had built, over these past several months, a legitimate relationship, and that actually Praytel could also be getting something positive out of his relationship.
Their little conversation on the steps was like, it was very real. Like, once again, like the characters, like I'm loving that these characters are like fully fleshed out.
Yeah, and
their relationships are fleshed out.
And that's a fully different generation because Praytel came up in the
it's a man of a certain age.
So that means if he's 45,
right,
45,
that means that Damon is in his late 20s,
early 20s. Them girls, because him and they can't be more than 25.
Right. So there's at least
it's
a
20-year age difference, between them. So I keep saying 45,
right? Because
I was like, okay,
we gonna work.
And maybe it's not necessarily. You know what it is. And I kept looking at him, and I'm thinking it's not so much that Praytel looks old, is that he's sort of always the voice of wisdom. Yeah. And that gives him a gravitas and a seriousness that I don't necessarily Not that I mean, but I'm just saying that gives him.
We have been in the same room and have had similar conversations with similar people that are 20 years older than us, and you're gonna sit there and discount that?
Oh, look at my watch. Look at this.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. Anyway, so I met my step goals. That's perfect. What else?
Okay. So Sanaya, Laomi, and the other ballroom children. I see you. I live for the fact that they gave their actual ball names, Sanaya Ebony, and but Deshaun is he's always in there in the cast. Laomi is Candy's other daughter. By the way, this is the first episode Miss Candy was not in that since she's died.
Which I was actually, because I'd assumed that when Blanca was in the hospital that she was going to show up. Well, at some point.
Well, yeah, maybe. But
then I was like, I'm glad that they, sort of, because you got to move on.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta.
That's true.
And plus, I know her Angelica Ross was like, girl, I'm not doing all this dress up for like 2 seconds of screen.
The paycheck, I will gladly do just call me for the paycheck.
Well, right. Well, then there's that. But so, what else?
But there was some speculation about some of the future timelines or future possibilities for like what it will be for like season 3.
I want to know. Right, I do want to know what happened with old cute doctor boy from the beach.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting to understand what happened.
That would be cute to know what happened to them.
Whether it was just a summer fling.
I'm glad that Preytel and Blanca reconciled.
I'm great getting emotional.
Right. Listen, we've all had that friend where we fell out and then you get back together and you be like, girl, why did was it even worth all of this?
Oh no, bitch, I remember.
Well, I know you remember. But you was, like in the aftermath, you like, but was it worth all of this? And then you be like, yeah, it was worth all, because at that moment, I was about to fuck you up.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
I've chosen to move past it, but at that moment, I was about to fuck you up.
So the fact that all the kids are now grown, and the fact that
it's not even been a year yet, and Damon is now in Paris with his own house, and I was like, really, girl?
Right. Okay. So that's one option. You also have Angel, who possibly could have other kids coming through, especially.
And Angel is in Germany, about to leave for Germany. The first day they said that, I was like, girl, y'all ain't got no passports. But I remember this is 1991. You could
go to the passport office and get it.
Or you could just fly on a birth certificate. I don't know.
No. You need a passport, because when I went to Paris in 1989, we drove up to New York to the passport office that same day and got it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think you can do that now, but because there's like a passport office downtown, and if you're flying, you got to jump through hoops.
Oh, okay.
You can't be like it can't be like 4:30. And I need this passport in the next 30 minutes. You have to be like, well, they open up at 7. I'm going to be there at 6:45 in line to be there right when they open at 7. Oh. So by 5 o'clock, I can have my passport.
Yeah, I've never
had to do that, because my anxiety just ain't going to allow me to get that close to a trip. Yeah. Like, I'm 2 months out, and my renewed passport ain't come back every day. I'm checking on the state.gov site. Like, where they at, girl?
Where you at, girl?
You said 6 to 8 weeks. I'm like, bitch, it's been 6 weeks. Let's get it together.
6 weeks, 4 days, 7 hours, and 20 minutes. Where you at, bitch?
5,000, 600 minutes. Exactly. Get your all shit together. Oh. So there is that. I know that there are kids that young in the scene, because even in Paris is Burning, the 2 young kids were like 13 and 14, but that those 2 kids were so young, and that one boy had traveled to New York City all the way from Denver. Can you just imagine being 14 years old and not only just traveling? Because I mean, if your parents, but having his parent, this young black boy living in Denver. His parents threw him out, and somehow he made it all the way from Denver, Colorado to New York City.
You'd be surprised. I have a cousin.
I mean, sometimes I just feel so blessed that was not my experience, because the shit that people go through went through is just,
it's ridiculous.
Like as a 48-year-old man, I just think of all of the hundreds of things that could have gone wrong or happened to that boy on that trip. all of the men that could have abused him or could have just taken his money, you know, it would have been so easy for that little boy to have ended up in a ditch.
Absolutely. And listen, I have a cousin that did the same thing. I don't know. To this day, I've asked him, how the fuck did you get from San Francisco to Pennsylvania? How did you do that with not a dime in your pocket? But whatever. All I know is you called me at the train station. You're like, I'm now at the train station. Come pick me up. What? What are you talking about? It's like, I gotta go to work. No.
Like right now.
The bus just went by. What do you mean what bus? What's the number of the bus?
Like right now, at 48 years old, if I was dropped off in Denver with no money, and not no money, not meaning I just didn't have any cash. Because if he was 14 years old, that means he had no credit card, he had no identification, no resources upon which to rely. At 48 years old, I feel like I'd be hard pressed to get all the way back to New York. I mean, I'd make it. I would say I just feel like I'd make it. In my spirit, I know I would make it. I know I would make it, but I would still have to be. I'd have hard choices. Right. I feel like, well, some hard choices would need to be made. Well, like listen at 9/11. We just practice these jaw skills. There will be some hard choices that will be made. But listen, I'm gonna get back to this side of town. So, right. So it may not be immediately, but I'm gonna get back. The poor little girl that was with him, who was clearly trans. Not clearly, but I think that was the assumption. Yeah. And I was like, if it was hard for him, I could only imagine how hard it was for her. And you know, once again, like today, I was having a conversation with my coworker, and he was like, "How did you come to have adopted a son?" And I told him the story. He's like, "It happens more often than not. Even in the late 20-teens, people are still getting rid of their kids or their family, or disowning them, or deciding that they had a falling out and not going to speak to them for several weeks because they're back on speaking terms now. But for a while, they weren't." And I'm just like, just that concept and that idea that you could throw your child away. What I really want to see is, and this is just like, sort of like wish fulfillment for me. I want to see, now that Damon is, fairly successful, because he's choreographing videos and doing all this other stuff, that means he's a fairly successful person. He's going to be on Entertainment Tonight and, all other stuff. And now I want to see his mother and father show up and be like, of course, we forgive you. But and have him be like, but this will be the scene for me where his Blanca and his birth mother are going to be somewhere. And he's gonna say, "I love you, mother," and his mother will be like, and she'll be like, "I was talking to Blanca," and Blanca will be like, "Right." So it looked like Blanca was about to adopt those two kids. I'm sure she was. Yeah. So that looked great. Now let me tell you. So I could see a reveal coming, and when she was in that chair. You are with that. And I get gooped by a good, I know you hate a wig toss, but bitch, I live for a wig toss. I live for a good old reveal. I live for, okay, bitch, she clearly got something on underneath that. I can't wait to see what it is. I know it's going to happen. I'm still about to be, I know I'm going to be gagged, and I'm still living for it. So when she did, because I love that version of the Star Spangled Banner. Whitney Houston slayed the shit out that version. Yes, she did. And that sweatsuit was horrible. It was so 1990. It was. Oh my God. But anyway, But Blanca did that with that red jumpsuit and everything. And, I thought she was going to pull a Pepper LaBeija. And piece by piece by piece by piece. But so I heard this story. May or may not be true that, because at some point Pepper was a diabetic, and at some point she lost one or both of her legs. Okay. And she came to a ball in the wheelchair and was voguing, not in the wheelchair, but like took the wheels off and was like she was giving a performance
with the prop,
with the pieces of the chair. So I was like, bitch, is this what we about to see? Is this what we about to see?
And maybe that's what that was from. Maybe
it could be. Now that wasn't from Paris is Burning. This is from some people in Jersey,
right?
That I know that knew Pepper LaBeija.
Maybe that was an homage to that.
Yeah.
So but listen.
I was gagged.
Pepper was one of the original stunt queens in a good way, as far as the ball is concerned. But yes, I'm here for it.
You know, just Poppy and Angel proposed getting both of them getting down on one knee.
Cute.
So like Angel getting down on her knee, one knee, and then Poppy, once he realized what the fuck was going on,
he was like, I do. He's like, yes, I do. It's like you said first. I do. I was like, oh God.
Yes.
The air filters was just getting they got to me. But
so I mean, it really did end on Elektra did win Mother of the Year, and she deserved it.
Yes,
I mean, she put that house together from nothing.
Yes, she did. She did.
You know, and she this, at some point at MAL, I'm going to have to do some like judges, your scores. 10, 10, 10, 10. No.
Or because Spectre called me and was like, come judge for me, daughter.
Yes, come judge for me. Come judge for me.
But anyway, so
yes.
Ryan Murphy, great. I can't wait to see what goes on in the next season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6, whatever. I just can't wait to see what goes on.
Yes.
So thank you to Ryan, to Janet, to Lady J, to Stephen J. Canals, like everybody. Thank you so much. Brad Falchuk, anybody else that was involved, great. We're looking forward to next season. But I will say this. American Horror Story 1984 is coming, and it is going to be everything for me. So I was a horror movie slasher flick type kid, and I just loved all of that. So the series is going to premiere September 18th on FX. But to give you an idea, the trailers, you've been seeing these campgrounds, and
it's been very sleepaway camp kind of.
Friday the 13th,
the two kids trying to fuck in the water,
and all those stereotypical 1980s slasher flick things.
Like the reason why you would never catch my ass sitting on the edge of the pier with my at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, girl, you know what could be under that? No.
If it's a swimming pool, yes, that's right.
Right.
But so anyway, and the main guy, the slasher, he's the same guy that played Twisty the Clown.
So that's what and they're calling him Mr. Jingle. So I'm wondering if it's the same character, just like in a different era.
So okay, so then there's always this connection with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one possibility. There's another possibility that was saying that this whole season is set at Camp Redwood, and so it says that there were it was a real life Camp Redwood that was established by Americans in 1862 during the Bald Hills War. And while there may not be any connection between the two, past seasons like Roanoke kind of went back into history and kind of drew a connection. Most of the people that are in this 1984 American Horror Story 1984 are new people. There's a few people that are carrying over, and one of the two people that have been there from the beginning, Sarah Paulson, is not scheduled to be on there as a regular. She is making a guest appearance though, so there's a possibility there'll be some connection that way.
Right.
Just like there's another connection with Evan Peters, who's going to be guest appearing in this possibly as well. And so there may be a connection between the two of them. So I can kind of see that this might be some connection. And Ryan Murphy does this thing where he's connecting them in some way, shape, or form, because every season of American Horror Story has been connected in some way, shape, or form. So we'll have to see how that's going to play out.
Right.
But I'm really looking forward to this. So September 18th, I will be right in front of my television looking forward to all of this at 10 p.m. on FX.
I will certainly be there.
I'm just saying. Yes, listen. Speaking of television shows, new movies are coming out.
Yes.
Did you hear about The Matrix?
I saw that, and I'm just like, girl, can't we come up with some new fucking ideas?
And is it just me? But I'm kind of wore out with The Matrix. Like, I love The Matrix. Let me be clear. I love everything about it. The idea of it took me a minute to wrap my head around it, because it seemed like it was like a wrap and a twist and a twirl, and like it kind of lost me for a minute. But I like the idea.
You're going to have to do something new for me, because you know, as a student of English literature and whatever, there are very few things. I find things entertaining, but very few things surprise me. So, like the first time Neo did that shit, and I was like, oh, that's just like a. It's like, how the fuck did they do that? It was so, but then they did it like 100 times in the movie, and I was like, where are we going to go with this? Because I mean, do I even really care anymore?
Well,
you know, I would wish that the energy that Hollywood collectively puts into coming up with sequels and retreading ideas from when was the last Matrix? Like 90 something or 2000? Anyway, it's been at least 15 years.
I think it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, that you come up with new ideas.
Yeah. Well, and you know what?
And the Matrix was a new idea. I don't know if it was adapted from a comic or not, but it was a fairly new idea at the time.
So there's this controversy about the Lana Wachowski and I can't think of her sister's name because I think
they used to be Wachowski brothers, and now they're Wachowski sisters because they both transitioned.
Right. So Lana, I can't think of what Lana's sister's name is, but anyway, they're bringing back some of the original cast. So Keanu's on. Carrie Moss is on, but then Lawrence Fishburne, who plays Morpheus, they're thinking about recasting him, which I don't really understand. Like, how do you bring in back two of the characters if you're going? But then again, did Morpheus die? I'm trying to remember because
I can't even remember because it was like
because they were all in Zion, and they were all. He was the only person that died.
By the third Matrix, I feel like I watched it but didn't really care.
So I don't know where they're going to go with it. I'll be interested to see how this plays out. I'm agreeing with you about doing something new because I'm trying to figure out what are you going to do with this now? Like, if Neo's a part of the system and he's part of the Matrix and he's always going to be reinventing himself and he's always that X factor, that wild rogue that the system can't control.
But the system needs
to continue evolving and to keep correcting itself.
It can't. So if everything just goes to plan, then eventually it'll just run to failure. It can't grow and evolve without some, like you said, this X factor.
This X factor is wild. I'm trying to think
a wild card.
Well, thank you. This wild card. So yeah, and he's that. So I don't know, but we'll see. But big news because it was a great film. Also, It Chapter 2.
I'm out. I don't do horror movies.
So while I do horror movies, I will say this: there's something about a horror movie where there's characters and there's a certain type of movement that just creeps me out. And I got to tell you, because it happened
slow, fast movement.
It happened sort of, kind of, but it happened in the first chapter. But it also happened in Blade. I think it was movie 2, the second one, where they stabbed this one vampire and he kind of split. He was kind of walking backwards with his hands. And in it, there was this thing where he was Pennywise was in the refrigerator. He kind of untwisted his body, started moving. Something about that movement creeps me out, but I'm here for it. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with this. But it comes out September 6th, and this is the second part where they are adults, and so of course all the kids have been recasted with their adult counterparts. What I'm looking forward to is the Old Spice guy who's playing the adult version of
that's where I know him from. I was like, okay, now
Isaiah Mustafa,
something like that.
So I'm looking forward to see what he actually does with that. But we're going to see what this is gonna bring, because so far from the previews there have been very mixed reviews about it. People are saying first episode was better, or first part was better, but the second part was okay. The plot was good, but then there's some people that are like, oh, it was amazing. So of course I'm gonna have to see it for myself and kind of judge what it actually was. But yeah, again, shout out to the Old Spice guy. Good luck. I want to see what you actually do with this.
Yes.
And now, tonight, I'm a little pissed off because I really could go and see it, but Ready or Not is in theaters tonight. Now?
Oh, yes. I do kind of want to see that. That's not a horror movie. That's more like I feel like it's also a little bit of a slapstick comedy, but also there's horror.
It's kind of like Clue, almost.
It's kind of like Clue, but with real violence.
Yeah, so if any of you don't know, it is this movie Ready or Not it's listed as an unsuspecting bride finds herself fighting for her life on her wedding night, and this has to do with this particular family and how they were given they're part of a wealthy
prophecy.
A prophecy, or
I thought it was a prophecy.
They were given
that if they don't do this sacrifice, this game of
Yes.
ready or not, and you know, if they don't do that, and the newest member of the family doesn't survive the night, or they don't do it, then some sort of a tragedy is going to befall the family.
That's correct. And so but listen, I'm just here for the idea of I just got married and now you hunting me, like what?
Right.
And I'm dying because it's the juxtaposition of wedding gown and blood splatter, and
Yes.
you know, the bride and also Kill Bill 1 and 2, which that's another one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Like that whole the craziness of it I'm looking forward to. So ready or not, I'm gonna probably see you this weekend. So because I don't have time tonight.
That would be cute. That could be something we could do. What else we gonna do? Because I'm gonna tell you, I got a whole list of things
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah. All right. So, all right. It looks like it's about time for us to wrap up, and you made it on time. I was so excited for you.
Did
The
y'all catch
BGK
the shade? Did y'all catch the attempt at the shade? Let's be clear. I said I was going to be cutting it close, and I made it here on time.
He did make it 7:59 and 48 seconds
On time, because the show starts it's supposed to start at 8:05.
No,
The show
starts at 8 o'clock.
The show starts at 8 o'clock. What it was advertised was, when we first came here, was 10:05. Then we went to 9:05. Then it went to 8:05. That's when it was advertised.
Oh, so that's what you're going to hang
I'm
your
just
hat
saying,
on?
listen.
Is that what you're hanging your hat on?
But either way,
Okay.
I was on time.
The BGKH Show streams live on Wednesdays on www.voxwave.com from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern and 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Episodes are available on YouTube and iTunes and SoundCloud every Friday. On YouTube, you can search for Vox Power 373 and look for the BGKH Show with Dominion and Epic. Currently, we are still able to host a small but enthusiastic studio audience. And if you can't be in the audience, call us. Hit my hotline, 240-719-2560. One more time, 240-719-2560. We should do like a sex line.
Yeah, like it.
240-719-2560.
Right. ASMR, that's what it is. This we got.
So how can the viewers get in contact?
You can reach me on Facebook, and you can find me as Epic Onyx. You can find me on Instagram. And I am Epic Onyx. You can also reach me on Twitter at Epic Onyx and Dominion. How can they reach you?
At Tom Onyx on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook.com/Tom Onyx. And my website, www.tomonyx.com. Thank you all for coming.
Good night!
Thank you for coming here, and thank me for being here.
Bye, y'all. Bernardo, what's going on? What's up, Turbo?